Well, currently, I wouldn't really call it a system as such. We've got a source of water, so at each green you'll see a green box at the back of it, which has a hose connection in it. So yeah, I think previously they did have sprinkler heads, tees, greens and surrounds, but for whatever reason it was decommissioned, which is, it was kind of set us back, hence why we're looking at a new irrigation system and the need for that. So using hoses to water the greens at present is what we've got. So, the summers are getting warmer, we can see that. It makes it really difficult. So generally we're really struggling. There's times where we're looking to get a moisture content in the greens, and with a hose we just can't deliver that. It's really difficult. There's no consistency across it. With watering, what you're looking for is you really want to put that on at the coolest time. So most irrigation systems would work overnight. With our irrigation, at the minute with the water, we're having to do that through the day at the warmest point. We're sending 2 guys out, for 8 hours a day, to really just keep the turf alive. That's as much as we can do. Moisture readings were really down. We've kind of looked at that over the last 2 years, and it's made it really difficult. So we're having to put a lot of time and effort into the watering with the current setup, where we'd like to be using that time in other areas of the golf course, improving other areas, pushing forward, and really, we're kind of tidied everything up. I've said that, in the past. Where we want to go now, we want to really renovate, so we want to, get an overseeding programme running, and we want to do that at the best times where we're going to get the best strike, not at the back end of the year as such. So we need water for that to germinate. That's one of the big things I said when I came in, was for disease prevention, was changing the sward that we've got, and water plays a huge part in that. So again, we've always spoke about the consistency. So with an irrigation system, because it's automatic, it'll deliver, with the setup, it'll deliver the water that we request and where we need it. Whereas, as I say, with the hose, it's difficult for manually to do that. So again, with an irrigation system, that would deliver it overnight at the coolest point. So say from, if we had an evaporation rate of say 2 mil through the day, we can put that back on through the night, because we just use the computer system. It gets put into the computer, and then the computer delivers, that to the sprinklers. The sprinklers then put 2 mil onto the greens, and it's the consistency. We can keep that water moisture content up. We get the consistency across the whole course, and that's not only in the greens. One thing that's obvious is the tees and surrounds have really struggled over the last 2 years. We've put a lot of seed into the tees, and to be honest, they're no better than what they were when I first came. So we're not really seeing, a progression with the tees. They're going back the way. We're overseeding them at the back end of the year when we're getting a bit of moisture, and they're coming on. They look decent right through the sort of winter with the rest period, and then when we get back into the sort of spring and we've had a few weeks, and then we perhaps get higher temperatures, they just go back because we've got all the wrong grasses in there. So we need to have water, to keep the consistency of these areas. It's not, the greens are important, but we want all surfaces to play at their best. The approaches, the surrounds, they're just an extension of the greens. So when we're doing our agronomy programme, we're extending that out. We top dress all these areas. We feed them. We use wetting agents in these areas. So we're just trying to drive that consistency. But when we get really warm spells, it's basically like firefighting on the greens. We can only hose the greens. We just don't have, there's not enough time in the day to get to the tees and the approaches. So if we have a spell of warm weather, for 2 or 3 weeks, again, it's been the driest, I think, for 150 years. The temperatures have been up and down this year, but it has been dry, overcast days. We're not getting that water, so everyone's really struggled. And the one thing about our irrigation system at the minute, it's not, if it's going to break down, it's when. And the big thing about that for me is it's going to let us down when we really need it. It's not going to let us down in the winter because we don't use it over that period. It's going to let us down in, say June, July or August. And then when you look at the installation of our irrigation system, it's not weeks, it's months. you're not going to, you know, disrupt the golf course to put an irrigation system in. Nobody could do that. You know, what we're looking at is you're probably looking at 3, 4 to 6 months period of installation. So if we can't fix the irrigation system, then we're going to lose the greens coverage. They're going to resemble pretty much what the aprons and tees look like if we don't have the water source, because we're on our backup system at the minute. Most golf courses, if their irrigation system goes down, they'll go to use the hoses. We run our hoses, we don't have a backup, whereas, you know, other courses round about, they have their irrigation system, it goes down, they can use the hoses and get water onto the greens. You know, so that's where the worry for me also would be. You know, the irrigation system at present, you know, it's been in the ground about 35 years plus. It's the old PVC piping, so there's leaks all over the golf course. We've had a few sort of questions regarding, can we not just extend onto what we've already got, put sprinklers on? I know there was a proposal put forward a few years ago for that. The problem with that is, at the minute we're asking pipes under the ground that have been there for a long time, that have been glued up, to deliver to a hose at the minute. If we go and put like 4 sprinkler heads on a green, say up at the 18 for example, that's a long way to pump from the back of the sheds where the storage tank is, to ask it to deliver to 4 pop-ups. The pressure would just go, it would have burst everywhere, so that just wouldn't work. Unfortunately, we have to go for the full system. So I looked into that and spoke to the course managers round about. So mostly the Brand Putter League was the easiest way to look at it, and just ourselves and Ferranese are the only clubs on the rota that don't have an automated irrigation system. So again, you know, we sit in between 2 clubs that have the irrigation system, and it really just, you know, the main thing is these guys will probably say that they're looking for upgrades all the time. If we had an irrigation system, we had sprinkler heads, this would be a totally different conversation. We could then sort of spread it over a period of time, so we could pick out 6 greens and do that over the course, because then we've still got the other system running. But unfortunately we can't do that. That's what these other clubs are, that's where they're at the minute. They're looking to upgrade, but they're going to do it in staged. Unfortunately, again, as I say, we've just got to go back to the beginning and start again from where our starting point is. So with the likes of the main line, it's mostly, well, it'll all be put down at the side of the fairways in the sort of rough, so there won't be any real disruption with that side of it. It's more when it comes to putting the sprinkler heads into the greens in particular. The company would have to put it onto temporary green for doing that, so that would take a day for that. Once they're finished, we'd put the pin back onto the green and we'd move round and continue to do that. There might be small disruptions when they're taking the pipe across, say the front of some of the tees. We'd probably have to move the tee up just in front of where they're working, and as soon as they've completed that area, then, you know, the tee would go back onto its position.
And a new irrigation system, how long would this last, and how often would it need to be renewed?
Well, you know, in reality you're looking at well over 30 years. You know, if you keep up with the maintenance of it, you know, getting it maintained on a yearly basis, you know, a new installation would come with the warranty side of it, so it would be looked after. But yeah, you just have to, it's like any sort of piece of machinery, you would do your yearly checks on it and make sure that it was, if you followed that sort of guideline, then you'd be expecting it to, you know, 30 plus years easily. That would be sort of the timeline you'd be looking at. Yeah, I mean, it would really help us being able to deliver that water at the right time. You know, it would really push the golf course forward. It'd help us take it to the next stage of, you know, renovating and getting the overseeding done, retaining, you know, the coverage throughout the, you know, the year, which is important. That's what we want to do. You know, when we first came in, we sort of look, I think we're about 2/3 through where we kind of sit and want to be. So the first thing that I wanted to look at was the staff, and we've got a great greenkeeping team here. You know, everybody's positive. So for me, that was stage 1. You know, stage 2 was the new machinery. So the club have invested in that, and I think that's shown the fruits of its labour over the summer period. With the quality of cut that we're getting, you know, we've got really good positive feedback right from the membership to visitors that have played in the Opens and such. the third stage for me, and the final sort of to top that off, would be the investment in an irrigation system. It would really lift us to another level. You know, and the benefit to the golf course would be, you know, instant over that period. You know, I think it would really benefit the greenkeeping team. It would give us more time in the day to go and, you know, work in the smaller details in the golf club to really lift us up where we want to be and where a club like this should be.